call the meeting.
Okay, I've started, Tracy, if you want to pull up the link.
Got it, thanks.
Okay, would we like to call this meeting to order?
You say you're calling the meeting. Would you like to call the meeting?
I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'd like to apologize to anybody that's been waiting for us.
All right. So, welcome to the May 30th public board meeting. And I would like everyone to take note of the antitrust compliance notice. The first order of business, we need to approve our March meeting notes as seen in Exhibit B. Could I get a motion to approve?
This slide says private session, I just noticed. I think that's supposed to say public, probably.
My apologies.
No big deal, just noticing.
Yeah, the exhibit is right, I believe, but. So could I get a motion to approve the public session for March?
Mark, we lost your screen capture there for some reason, your broadcast.
How about now? Do you see it?
Now I do.
It's back.
It's your full screen, not just the presentation, just so you know.
All right. I'm sorry for the error, but could we get an motion to approve the session meeting minutes?
Yeah, motion to approve. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay. And any abstaining? Okay. And did you record the vote, Todd?
Yes, got it.
I believe the ayes have it. Then we have the April meeting resolutions. And once again, I apologize. I copied the private session. It is the public session of the April 2000 meeting minutes. It's just a bad slide. Sorry. Can I get a motion to approve Exhibit D, the public session meeting minutes from April?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right. The motion carries. All right. What I wanted to talk about today was my first 60 days as ED and some of the things that I've observed and some of the things I want to work on. So I have been working with a subset of the board of directors to figure out the priorities for the executive director. This is the first time we've had an executive director for Node.js, and we've tried to create a set of goals that facilitate a thriving Node ecosystem, and I've categorized them into growing the foundation, our user base, our membership, both our corporate membership as well as our individuals and our developers. And then we want to improve our engagement with those members and a healthier engagement, better conversations with our users to get feedback to the project. We want to get better at our interactions so that we develop our software in a more collaborative way. and then educate. And really, it's not just educating the practitioners, but educating the market on what Node is, what it's good for, where we're going, and why you should become involved with the foundation. So as we get farther along, you'll see us talk more formally about what the foundation goals are, but it'll fall under these 3 themes. The other thing that is, we continue to see great project momentum. It's very exciting this week. We have a product release. We continue to get great contributions. And really, we are, by all accounts, a great technical success. The one thing that I think that we need to improve as a whole is in our interpersonal interactions. I think as a whole, we do very well, but we should always be working to improve. And I think it's worth saying that we should always try to be kind to each other and collaborative, and at the very least civil in our interactions.
Can you be more specific about what you mean by civil?
I don't think that the civil should be that we should not be insulting to each other. I mean, we should try. I mean, I'm not going to dissect civil other than we should try and treat each other with respect and seek understanding.
Part of the reason I asked was just because I was curious if you were referencing any parts of our code of conduct at all, or if you consider that in this.
I would think that our code of conduct should be secondary to how we conduct ourselves as just human beings, and try and be good to each other. And this should be fun. And that's, I think as a whole, that happens, but it could be better. And the times where we're not, I think, takes up a large amount of our time unnecessarily, because we aren't as civil or collaborative as we should be. And
do you think it makes sense to say just act like human beings, though, given our large, extremely diverse international population who probably have very different ideas of what acting like a human being is?
Some human beings aren't very collaborative or civil or kind, so I don't know.
True.
That's good. So I just think that we should think about what's best for Node when we're interacting and try and be better to each other when we can be. And, you know, try and make better software through collaboration. Another thing that I think that I've seen is that there's so many people informally participating in Node communities. I think we want to figure out how to get those people together under the beachhead of the Node Foundation and get them more involved, so we have more voices are heard through the formal channels. And if you are part of a company that is not formally involved, it would be great to hear from you. And I want to talk to you and understand what your concerns are and how you could, what you want to get out of Node and whether or not we can be better about it. Interacting with your company. We want to see you at Node Interactive. We want to see you at our foundation. And we want to see you in GitHub. And then finally, I think we want to just, the call to action is to keep telling people about Node. We have a great Twitter following, amazing Medium following. People are subscribing to our Node Everywhere newsletter, but I think it could be better. And I think that we want your feedback on what kind of information you want to hear about from us via our newsletters. We want to see you at Node Interactive. One of the most important things, going back to interpersonal interactions, to the extent that you can be face-to-face with people, I've always found that's it's, if you get face-to-face, it's easier to deal with people online because you make connections faster in person. So we want you there so that you can interact, and we want you at other Node events, not just Node Interactive. And we want you to tell people that we are we have the foundation here as a resource to help grow the community and the ecosystem in general.
Just really quick on the point of the code of conduct. Just wanted to make it known that there is an active conversation going on with the TSC right now about adopting the contributor covenant code of conduct as the new code of conduct for the project. There has not been any objections to that, so it's likely to move forward, but it hasn't been closed yet. Just letting everybody know.
Thanks, James. I think it's good that we have codes of conduct and that they're enforced, but I think we all have to try our best to get along with each other and be collaborative.
I just want to quickly say, particularly because this is the public meeting, that as the individual membership, one of the individual membership directors, I am extremely not in favor of this idea that we can just tell people to be good people and it works. We've seen in the tech community that this is not the case over and over again. I'm very excited that we're going to be adopting, hopefully, the covenant, the contributor covenant. And I know that we're doing a lot of work moving forward to work on enforcing that. And I think that it's critical that we do that work. And if we kind of play it off as we can just let humans be humans, we're going to find ourselves in a really bad situation really quickly.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that we do have to say what our values are and that we want to be collaborative and treat each other with respect. So, and we should formalize those codes of conduct. All right. So, we did have James just piped in, and I'd like to congratulate James as our new TSC Director. We have Michael Dawson elected as the TSC Chair. So congratulations to James. He's taken Rod Vogg's spot and will be representing TSC on the board of directors. So do you have anything you want to share, James?
Nope, just happy to be here.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. All right. We also have a new chairperson for the community committee, and it's Brian Hughes. And Brian and I have discussed ComCom, as it's affectionately known, and he surfaced some questions that we should be discussing over the upcoming year. But one of them is, should the ComCom have a broader purview than they do today? And there will be a motion later to update their charter to that end. How is the ComCom's activities being brought to the board, which I believe actually will be very active, as well as Tracy. They do attend the board meetings, but we want to make sure that their feedback is getting to the board. He also surfaced the where the evangelism working group lives under today and where it may live in the future, and if it should be part of ComCom. And the charter for education, if education should be explicitly part of the community committee charter. The other thing that comes up quite a bit in my discussions is the rules around moderation and whether we're doing it right, and whether it's being enforced correctly, and honestly, whether people are understanding what those rules are. As in my first 60 days, I've heard more and more about this and have become more and more confused as it comes on as to what exactly is the best answer. But it is something that is, I feel like, an important topic that needs to be tackled. And finally, the other question is, does the website fit better under ComCom or not? So I don't know if, I think William might have taken off by now, but Ashley, do you have any color around any of this or thoughts?
Sorry, I was searching for the mute button. My apologies. I'm like watching the YouTube and all these different things. So I know that there's a couple of things going on with the ComCom. The moderation conversation has been a big one, and I kind of already touched on that earlier. But I definitely think moving forward, we need to be getting that answer. We need to get that actually answered. And if it's getting more confusing, I think we need to bring more people in, and we all need to sit down and probably talk about it. Regarding the education responsibilities, I think that's partially because there is a motion right now in the ComCom to bring my one of the programs that I founded called Node Together, that's for beginners, under the ComCom, so they can get some financial support. I know evangelism working groups wanted to move for a while. I don't know if people have specific questions on this. Almost all of these are extremely well documented on the GitHub. So
the reason I wanted to bring it on is I feel like the community committee is a big asset. There's a lot of people that are willing to do work for us and make Node better. And it is not the kind of things that fall under the development of the software, but it's the kind of things that get people to engage with us. So I don't have a prescription for any of this other than what's been requested from a charter change, but I wanted to make sure all of our board members knew that this is what was going on and that there is good work there and what we may want to.
The community committee's charter was originally presented by Tracy to this board, and the charter approved. So it is my understanding that the board is aware of this group and approves of it.
Yeah.
And it should be noted also that the TSC is aware that these conversations are happening with regards to, with the website and where that should live, and moderation, where that should live. The TSC has actually struggled to have a real strong connection with what's happening with the website and some of these other things, specifically because they are so far disconnected from the actual day-to-day of developing the project. So, going this direction, having these conversations is definitely, I think, the right direction to have. We just kind of need to outline what the scope is and kind of figure out from there.
Yeah, we should find a good way to merge the conversations happening in ComCom with the ones at the TSC about all this restructuring, because there's actually like a really good thread in there about the website. The website is like very, very hard to kind of disentangle, because the website is just a conduit for a bunch of other working groups to put in content. So it's really hard to kind of figure out where it is by content, and we're sort of exploring like how do we structure something where the content is essentially owned by these other autonomous groups and the structure is owned somewhere else. So
yeah, these are the kinds of conversations that are bringing in. We have TSC members who are attending the community committee meeting because it's community committee and it's everyone being represented both inside the project and out. So we try and make sure that we're never having those conversations without the people who are involved attending. But we're certainly not going to make any moves like that. We can't. Those aren't grabs. Those are, talking with other folks and seeing if they would like to move it over.
Yeah, Brian is also a member of the TSC, is he not still? So there's definitely overlap there.
Yeah. And Michael Dawson was present in the last meeting as well.
Yeah.
Giving us some really awesome feedback on his feels for those scopes. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So the one actionable thing on this list, there's plenty that's actionable, but the thing that we're being asked to do today is to look at the charter change request for ComCom, and that was attached to the board package as Exhibit F, which is, I summarized as overseeing the inclusivity of the working group, overseeing the education initiatives for Node.js Foundation, and facilitation with external open source projects and other outside groups. And it was part of pull request 50 for the ComCom. Do you have any color on that as well, Ashley? Is that accurate?
I mean, I think that pretty much, I would say read the pull request, but in general, adding the inclusivity working group and Node together, I think is one of the education initiatives. I was actually going to ask if maybe Tracy could provide a little bit more context around where her role lies as the education person with this community committee overseeing other education initiatives. Are they split? Is like how I'm curious how that exactly works. And I'm sure Tracy has a great answer.
Yeah, so that's something that I've had to think about since I came on, because this is sort of one of the challenges of the executive group at the Node Foundation, is that a lot of our work is a blurred line between the foundation itself and the project, and figuring out where we're not stepping on toes. What I find a lot of the time is that we're filling in where like energy has not been given, or there's so much work to be done. And ultimately also where we need a really neutral party, such as the certification. It's really valuable to be able to do those sorts of things, and also have, project management and the time and the resources to be able to, from such as like the Linux Foundation certification team. So what I see this as, and it's the same with the education repo in the Node.org now on GitHub, is that like I do not own that repo. I participate on it, and that should continue to be the case. And the idea of the education repo existing within, ComCom in the Node project on GitHub, I think makes a lot of sense, because that's where we're going to see the most energy, I think, and people feeling like they can give input. And I can still participate without being like ruler over education work, right? Which I am but one person. So what I can do is reach out to the education group, right? What I had tried to build out, but what needs to be built out in a much more community-oriented way, and not people wanting to email me, is people being able to bring forth the various efforts from, a better getting started on Node.js.org, or curriculums that they've written and tutorials that are really helpful for people getting started, maybe not as new programmers, but, coming from another language. So there's just so much work to be done.
It's true. Well, I guess you were kind of answering my question, which I was like, of course, it's going to be an awesome answer. I don't know if other people have other questions. That sounds like a no.
That's a no.
I just have one question. Did the TSC have a chance to look at any of the areas that were areas that it might be shifting things around from the TSC, that is?
The TSC has active issues open on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was gonna make the same point, but there are open discussions still. There's some disagreement that we're still kind of working through. But I think what would benefit the most is from a concrete proposal, and then put that in front of the TSC for. So right now it's a little open-ended.
All right. So then would that mean that you want to have someone from ComCom propose that to the TSC? Is that what the next step is?
Yeah, on the specific items that are currently under the TSC's area of responsibility, some language from the ComCom asking for those things to be moved.
Okay.
I believe that that's been filed for both the evangelism working group and for the education repo in the TSC.
In the TSC repo?
Yeah, I thought that those are active conversations open.
Let me look. It may have gotten lost in some other stuff.
Yeah, I think Brian opened them.
Yeah.
Got him. Okay. Yeah, I see him.
Okay. So for the next meeting, we will need to have those passed by TSC and those issues resolved for us to make the charter change, I believe. And I'll follow up William is the one who asked us to review this today. Maybe he can put forth a proposal, or if there's someone else, Tracy, you and I can talk about it, make sure it's on the agenda properly next time.
Yeah.
Great.
Hey, Mark, this is Brian. I need to step out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we still have quorum, though, Todd Benzies?
Yes, we do indeed.
Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is our communications social. Would you be able to speak to this, Sarah?
Okay, going off of mute, sorry. Yeah, so this is just some highlights from the communication side of the activities that we've been, that have been underway. Twitter followers continue to gain, and that March was also one of our highest months for new followers in the year so far. And I think Mark mentioned earlier that we do have Medium collection that's been going really well. Again, April ended up being one of our peak months. That just launched in February, so there isn't as much of a runway to sort of monitor there, but April was definitely our highest so far. We had some success stories placed in the press with on the retail front. Net-a-Porter and Walmart coverage appeared. We're also trying to really focus on some of our case studies that we sort of own and produce, but likewise, we also are trying to get those success stories out in the press with earned media, and that's going to be continuing to be a focus of ours as well. And trying to also up level into higher level media too, which we've been talking about with Mark. Some of our media outreach on the front also ties into members and trying to work with you to find ways to get your point of view or your expertise out into the market. And that's what you see here where we've talked about cars.com, as well as Dan Shaw and YLD, some of the quotes there that we've been able to secure. Again, also another article here that had an IoT focus with a community member, Rachel White, who also works at a member company, Microsoft. So we also look for the community experts and the technical experts too to get their expertise in the press. And then just at the bottom bullets are a recap of some of the Node Interactive coverage that came out. And we had a lot of coverage on changelog as well as the and
if you are not speaking, can you please mute?
That's some of the links to that coverage at the bottom there, those 4 links. And I know that the new stack, we sent out an email earlier in the year, right after Interactive, that really recapped how well received the coverage was on the new stack. If anyone's ever interested in that again, especially as we look to potentially bring the new stack back to Node Interactive in Vancouver, I'd be happy to reshare that. But they said that they had some of the most listened and most downloaded and most viewed articles around the Node.js interactive coverage in Austin. Anyone have any questions or thoughts?
I would go ahead, Dan.
No, just saying thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Just to give you some context, something that I thought was interesting as I look at sort of hot technologies and Twitter followers. Currently, we have 450,000 Node.js Twitter followers. For comparison, Docker has 234,000. Apache Hadoop, which is you would think would be a pretty widely followed technology, only has 30,000. And the Linux Foundation has 254,000. So we have a really, really engaged Twitter presence that is really powerful at spreading our message.
Do you have a number actually on how much of those followers are actually engaging with the content in any way using like Twitter analytics?
I'm sure that Libby does, or I'm sorry, Zibby does. Yeah, She could probably
Cool.
afford.
You always worry about those high Twitter follower numbers. Like tons of people follow me on Twitter, but no one really ever talks to me. So
Yeah.
it's a weird metric. I would be careful with it.
Oh yeah, I agree that gross numbers, but relative numbers I like because it gives us an idea versus the other ones. And she has engagements, so we'll get engagements as well. But you also see there that we had 19,000 link clicks. That's hard to say, and 2.9 thousand or 29,000 retweets. So it's not
2.9.
like
2.9, not 29. But one of the things I wanted to ask is I've been really particularly excited about the Medium collection that we have. And I know that I had been kind of pushing out. How successful have you felt about getting community members to be writing for it? And is there any more help you would like? And what's the best way to help?
Ooh, that's such a timely question, Ashley. Zibby and I met with some people on the evangelism working group. And actually, we were invited to present to the ComCom meeting and this past week. And we're getting about 15 submissions a month. And we'd love to get the submissions up, but we also need more technical reviewers. So we also are going to put out something on GitHub that will sort of summarize sort of what our needs are and ways to get involved and how it can be beneficial to even the volunteers that do help. So before we really try to promote getting a lot more submissions in, we want to make sure that we're getting some more technical reviewers in the mix. So there is a need for some volunteer effort there. And Tracy, if there's anything else you want to add to that, I know you were on that call.
Yeah. So what we're looking to do with the people that we had on that phone call for ComCom was to, as Sarah said, recruit more technical editors. And we're also trying to figure out ways like a better system for them being recognized, because it's a really valuable thing to be a technical editor. It's absolutely something that we benefit from as a foundation, but people can also benefit from, as an experience. So we definitely want more people to come to the table and help out with that if they are excited about that. And I believe those conversations are going to be happening with the evangelism working group and ComCom. But we had also discussed actually breaking off the node collection process documentation as well as the editors into their own repo under ComCom, so that we're not seeing all of the noise that because evangelism does a lot of work. And we wanted to make sure that we could have this separation of concern because the node collection is becoming such a force in itself.
Right. We have a documented process that we're going to update. And right now it's out on GitHub, but it's been in that evangelism working group. So to Tracy's point, we're going to create its own repo. And Zibby and I are working on that. We're hoping to post it probably late this week or next week.
That's all really awesome. This is so cool.
Oh, thanks.
Great. Anything else for Sarah or on Tom's? Great. I honestly think it's a good effort, and we're getting good results there. Okay. Just a reminder to everyone that Node Interactive is taking place Vancouver, Washington. Vancouver, British Columbia on the 4th through the 6th. And the early bird registration ends July 17th. If you have sponsorship, need sponsorship information, you can contact sponsorship@nodejs.org. And finally, we have Tracy. We touched on some of the education updates earlier, but if you'd like to expand on that.
Sure. Yeah. So Ashley was kind enough to bring up Node Together a little bit earlier, but we had talked about, I believe last fall, kind of how awesome Node Together's pairing with Node Live was in getting an area of our community engaged in a way that we hadn't before, and bringing some new people into the community because of it. And last fall, we had been, I say we, Ashley and I, as Node together working staff, had been talking about sort of how do we keep Node together moving forward. And we know that like other organizations like Node School and NodeBots and Node Girls, that it's a really cool thing. But there can be problems when you don't have a legal entity, simply just for taking in money for sponsorships and whatnot. And we'd had a number of people reach out to us for that. And the overhead for that can be, in time sync, can be very difficult. So we had put a pause on that because I think we were both having trouble getting enough energy from an organizing perspective to be able to feel comfortable with doing something like asking the Node Foundation for whether it would be appropriate to be a part of the Node Foundation. Now, this spring, Ashley met with Rachel White and handed over lead organizer reins to Rachel. And Rachel is at Microsoft and is a part of the community committee for Node as well. And is really excited to be able to spend more of her energy on this project. And she's very practiced in creating curriculums for these types of things as well. So there's a new energy in this. And as we were looking at this, we thought that the number of different proposals that I'd come up with, whether it was a separate entity seeking crowdfunding, or simply just being moved into the Node repo as part of education initiatives, something like Code and Learn, but it's a very different audience, made sense. And so the community committee voted that they thought it would be a good idea to bring it into the Node project repo. But we understood that we needed, because of the kind of effort that it is, there's no legal entity or IP attached to it, that we would need to talk to the board. So we wanted to get your feel for whether there's something that we need to watch out for here, or whether it's as simple as the community committee being able to vote on it and bring it in.
So one thing that I know that had come up in the conversations is that, I mean, I don't know, Tracy, maybe we should take this offline. But one of the tricky things about Node Together is that it has exclusive attendance where people apply and people are accepted into the program based primarily on belonging to underrepresented groups, which can be tricky from a legal perspective.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. I think that in the fall when we had talked to, Andy had mentioned that we should talk to him about documenting how we do that to make sure that we're doing that in a way that doesn't open us up to liability. Yeah, so
that was, I think, one of the trickiest parts.
Right. So I'm happy to follow up with that. Because that's it. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
I should say though, I'd be really curious to hear, would the board be excited about having something like this as part of it, or is everybody tired because the meeting has gone very long? Or
I definitely heading the right direction. I do share some of the liability concerns, and I would like to get an answer on that. But overall, I think it's a good thing.
But
yeah, and I agree with James. I think that it's a great initiative in an area that we are currently underserving our constituency on, and I'd like to see Node.js Foundation resources applied to growing and enabling new users, and the minor details around funding and the legal stuff that we'll probably have to hash out. But as a direction, I think it's great.
Yep, I'll also second both Dan and James are here.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Tracy, are you asking for, will there be a request at some point for additional resources?
For allocation of funds, yes. And I have a budget proposal that I'd prepared for the fall, from last fall. Yeah.
So is there any changes to that budget proposal, or is it about what you projected?
That budget proposal would change due to the calendar year. So the the locations that were selected were samples and not indicative of what I believe Rachel is trying to work on right now. Is I've advised her to not burn herself out by choosing many locations for the year, because if it comes to a couple of people traveling to these locations, then it's not even a matter of money, it's a matter of enough sleep. So like Code and Learn, I've advised for keeping it to a few locations for the rest of the year. So it's possible that it would actually be less than the proposal that I had come up with, the budget from last year.
Do you remember what the ballpark was for the proposal, Tracy? Are we talking?
Yeah, it was, I believe it was right at 25K.
Okay.
Yeah.
For how many events?
That was for 5, and that was for, I believe, 3 domestic and 2 international.
Okay, so that's a little bit less than, or a little bit more than Code and Learn, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, so that can't be, and then I'm thinking of the Code and Learn number. It's less. Yeah.
And how many attendees roughly do you expect at each one?
I think
20 max.
Yeah.
So when you said exclusive earlier, Ashley, there's a limited amount of space, and we have more people that want to come than we have space for.
Yeah, we regularly had I think for India we had 200 people apply.
Okay.
It tends to be something that a lot of people apply for, but in the interest of keeping it to be high quality. Again, I've handed this over to Rachel, so she may change it up. I don't know, but in general, usually it was 20, and maybe I would fudge it to 25 or 30, depending on how many people really applied.
Okay, yeah, that's just to give us some context. It sounds like it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'll be able to pull up I'm sorry, I can't pull up the spreadsheet for right now. Does anybody have any other questions about Node Together? Well, I have a couple emails I'll need to follow up on with various parties anyway, but I'm happy to bring up more discussion via email as well. And let's see, and the Node Certified Developer Exam development right now, we're still doing the item writing, but we're in the variations phase, which is creating essentially slightly different questions from the original items that we've created, so that we can reduce the amount of cheating and exposure on the exam. And we're aiming for an early Q3 release, so summertime, but trying to avoid people being gone for the summer vacation time after we've finished with the beta testing and QA rounds. That is it.
Great. All right. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up before the end of the meeting?
Do we have any Q&A on YouTube?
I am taking a quick look right now. I do know that there were several members of the ComCom who just were, active and chatting about some of the PRs we had talked about, and Tierney's one of them, and he already got started on several of those things, so that's pretty cool. There are no questions as far as I can tell.
All right. There's nothing else from anyone on the call, then would you like to adjourn the meeting, Denise?
Yes, I very much would. Thank you very much for everybody for staying engaged for this long period. Let's go ahead and adjourn.
Night, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Well.